o'clock for our final session already. You're listening to IBGR.network, and IBGR is our call sign as a radio station. But of course, we are much more than a radio station. We are a network. I am your host, Jan Robberts, Global Influencer, and this is episode 7, Influencing the Outcome, the meeting before the meeting in our People Lane, People Skills for Success. You can go to our website at www.ibgr.network and download the show notes. So in our final session, and I just had a question via my phone about where you can talk live and answer questions live. Sorry, the phone went off in the background. I had to make sure it was silent. But where we can ask questions live, and it's not happening yet, but next week we might have an experiment. Bill talked to me yesterday, the radio station, big president, owner, director, whatever the title is, but he's got title, but the title is not important to him because he's the workhorse, one of the two workhorses behind the scenes, and so is Donna. And so there might be an opportunity next week that we're going to trial this, that we can actually have a proper radio show with live on the air questions can be asked and discussed. So Mikael, hold your hat, and we'll see how that's going to work, but it might come next week already, even in Denmark. Yeah, okay, so we're going to, in our last session, we're going to talk about 7 critical ways productive people prepare for meetings. And, you know, again, in my research, I came across an article in Inc. magazine. That's not the black stuff, it's INC, which talked about this. Now, don't let bad meetings steal your time. Respect people and respect their time. So you can use the following preparation techniques to make sure you and the other attendees get the most from a meeting, regardless how many or few people are at that meeting. Now, the following can and should be a real team effort. Research the attendees. So there is no real excuse today for not knowing the people with whom you are meeting. Whether it is one-on-one or a conference, table of 10, you should have some idea who is at the table. Get a list of attendees and Google each one. Check out their LinkedIn profile and perhaps even look at them on Facebook to understand who they are and what they bring to the conversation. The time spent up front will not only save time on introductions, but it will give you powerful insights into them should conflict occur. So I hope that makes some sense. Then the second one is determine clear objectives. See, most meetings rumble because people wait until the last minute to determine what they want from the time spent. Even if you are the only one clear on what is to be accomplished, you can drive the results to meet your needs and declare completion when the objectives are met. Now that leaves the pressure on the others to justify hanging around. And the third one is plan a suggested agenda. In his book Death by Meeting by Patrick Lencioni, an amazing author as well and speaker, he suggests leaving the agenda open until the beginning of the meeting. That doesn't mean you shouldn't consider what it looks like until the last minute, but have your preferred agenda prepared and share it in the meeting at the beginning, then most people will accept your plan or at least voice any necessary alterations that can quickly be agreed upon. And of course, this is a bigger meeting, but consider any obstacles. So rather than waiting for the explosions to happen, be prepared for the drama that may come your way. Think about which battles are worth your energy and which ones you are willing to concede. So if you are mentally prepared for the emotion and conflict, you can keep your cool and will be ready to move forward towards a resolution very quickly. Remove any roadblocks. So you don't have to wait to resolve every problem in a meeting. If you identify potential issues and can remove them before the meeting, you will save time for the attendees. With enough careful forethought, you might even remove the need for the meeting altogether. Wouldn't that be a lovely issue? Okay, we don't have to have a meeting now because of what? You know, it is very interesting that sometimes we have meetings just for the sake of having meetings. And really, when you walk out of there, what was this meeting about? You know, we already talked about this earlier, and yet we have a half an hour and a half meeting, and what was achieved? Nothing. What was discussed? Nothing we didn't know already. So sometimes even proper communication during the day, during the week ahead, beforehand, the week ahead. No, that you can't do that before the meeting. During the week beforehand, proper communication is sometimes all it needs. And then, the question should be asked, do you know what our aim is here? Do you fully understand? Is there really any need to still have that meeting? And I mean, or if you still have to have a meeting instead of an hour, it might be 15 minutes. Says, we all know so just to clarify and answer any questions, and out you go again. Now, wouldn't that be so much better than sitting through PowerPoint, sitting through meetings, and sitting through this every single time? I wouldn't say every single day, but so many places that there are meetings every single day, and meetings upon meetings upon meetings, and people get sick of it simply because there's no proper preparation, no meetings before the meetings. Heaven forbid if you already have meetings all day, but there needs to be some kind of strategy, some kind of areas where, and when you're an entrepreneur as well, when you go into a meeting, you need to be prepared as well. But moving on to number 6, which is decide on desirable outcomes. So make sure everyone is clear on why the meeting is important and what the greater impact for the involved parties will be. So different than the meeting objectives, which are tactical, this is about understanding how this meeting fits into the big picture strategy. See, if people aren't clear on this, then the effort and results will likely be disconnected at best and useless at worst. So if you actually set out what you want the outcomes to be at the beginning, if you run a meeting, but also for you as a person going into an important meeting to get a big client, and if you're sitting there on your own, maybe sometimes you take 1 or 2 people with you, but if you're sitting there on your own because you're an entrepreneur and you're the only one in your business at the moment and not yet working on your business, which hopefully happens when it grows, then what next? So if you then sit there and you just say, okay, you lay out your agenda, you lay out what you're there to show them and what your intentions are, then people actually have an idea. Again, a Stephen Covey thing, begin with the end in mind. That's also very helpful. He was a wise man. He certainly was, worth studying. But then the 7th one is think about follow-up activities. Now, before you get in the meeting, budget time to take action that capitalizes on the conversation. Again, that talks into what John said as well, to take action, and where he was earlier on in his steps, the application of, I just had to go back and look what I said earlier on, but it's about the application as well. But doing a follow-up and follow through are critical for successful meetings, and yet most people don't think about it until after the meeting is over. But if you budget time that becomes unnecessary, you can easily reapportion that time to other important efforts. And reapportion, I would actually say reallocate even. I'm using expensive words today. I must have had alphabet soup, one of these, in the last couple of days. But it's there you have it really. A few very different but equally important meeting types to have before the big meeting. One of them is with key players who will be present in the meeting. Another one with an individual on a one-on-one meeting and how to approach that meeting. And then there is one with your team where everyone understands fully what the vision is, what is required, and what each team member must do before the meeting. So it's about delegation and then coming together as well to make sure you're all on the same page. But if you really want to positively influence the outcome, I hope you now have at least some better idea of how important these really are. You can really positively influence them. And of course, it very much depends on the kind of meeting, as I said, but you're also going to have, whether it is with your bank manager for funding, an internal meeting in your department, or a meeting to pitch your idea, product or service to a large organization. But do not always overestimate your own capabilities and try to do it all single-handed, or underestimate the power of that meeting before the meeting. Now, what is to come up next? My time is nearly over again, and it flies when you're having fun, of course. But we have more exciting shows coming up today, of course, from our amazing host in this prime time region, starting with Tina Ogbugo from Nigeria. And then normally after that, it's my partner, Arthi Moore from South Africa. But unfortunately, she had to... the show will be there, but she will not be there personally as she had an emergency to take care of. And then, of course, Sadiq Akebi from Lebanon. And it's a truly international and intercontinental group of stunning people. So, whether you're a CEO or a large corporation or small business owner, or whether you're running a local business group or sports club, whether you're a mompreneur or someone wanting to intentionally grow and reach your God-given potential, I can certainly help you. But my services include coaching, training, facilitation, and energetic keynotes. How can you get a hold of me? How can you get rid of me? Same thing, switch off, but how can you get a hold of me? www.keyleadershipinstitute.com or www.jrspeakersclub. But you can also find all my details, as I said at the beginning, on the ibgr.network site. You have now been listening to ibgr.network, the International Business Growth Radio Network. I am your host, Jan Roberts, and look forward to be with you at the same time, same place next week, when I will be covering business meetings. A necessary evil? Just remember, you are amazing. Have an amazing weekend ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.